Hello and welcome back. And that's right, I'm still here in Shenzhen, China, and I've returned to the Shenzhen offices here for Gl.iNet to talk about a new KVM. Now this is the Comet Q. Why is it called the Q? Well, because it's the shape of a Q. That's right, they have got a USB KVM. Now before we get ahead of ourselves, let's be honest, they're not the first to come up with USB KVMs, are they? There's actually been a few different variations of KVM in the last 12 months. They've really exploded on the scene. However, this interests me because this is actually merging USB connectivity and Wi-Fi and remote. So not just on the LAN on the network, but remotely over the internet and USB connectivity there. Now, the extent to local USB connectivity, well, we'll come back round to that in a bit. But this is a KVM that is primarily, but not only, designed for your phone. Now, it's more than that, but ultimately what I mean is this will run off USB bus power. Now, immediately out the gate, some of you are going to think, what's the point? The phone's a mobile device. Why do I need a KVM for my mobile device? I've already got the screen in front of me. Well, it's not quite that simple, is it? Because you may have tablets at your hotel. You might have phones back home. You might need to provide remote support there. You might need someone to give you remote support while you're away on business. You might need to share your camera, share your screen. You might be at a trade show like myself, taking videos and wanting to share it with Eddie back in the UK, eating too much cheese. Perhaps you are someone that wants to utilize this in order to share the concept of a meeting that you're just in, or to utilize it in the middle of a meeting. They're already looking at camera over IP being integrated as an option in early alpha in their existing Gl.i Comet systems, and with that software being integrated there. Now hopefully you can see a lot of the LCD there on screen. At the moment, again, this isn't a product that's completed at the moment. It looks like it's pretty much close to going over the line. This is a device where you can set up your remote KVM, you can set up your video input output there. Alongside that, you can configure the device in a number of ways, whether you want the system to have automatic access to privileged users, or you can go ahead and add usage device by device manual approval that requires an additional password. You can also set up a pass key on this device to ensure that even if someone tries to access it or tries to play around with it, you've got a local pass key on here. And again, they are still tweaking the software right now to ensure that it's still fully operational and has access to the connected device securely and again layered as needed, even when the screen is powered off. Now, do you remember earlier on when I mentioned about this being utilized with mobile devices but others? I think a lot of us would like to see the KVM screen we're connected to being displayed, but why would you want that on there? You know, you would use it on like a mini PC or something. But what's interesting is when you want to combine it with something like a Mac. If you want to take advantage of a Mac, which, let's face it, is designed for portability. Hell, that's the only reason I've got one of these for the journey here over into Shenzhen. This gives me not only the ability to share screen and share this information that I'm gathering over the course of this trip with Eddie, but also I can enable things like dual screening, mirror screening there, and extending it beyond and collaboration. Now, again, it's the portability of this that interests me more than anything. Now, let's talk about some of the specifications and the hardware inside there, because this device, the hardware inside is a little bit more modest than the majority of the other modern Comet devices from Gl.iNet. Now, that is reflected in the pricing, and we'll come back around to that in a moment, but this has that USB cable already pre-built in that you can attach it there inside. They're also looking into rubberized casings that you can put around this, but it also has a USB output there on the rear. Now at the moment, that looks like that is only designed for USB pass-through. So whether that is you're connecting to a device like this and they're allowing it to carry the power through, but they are investigating what they're going to be able to do with that USB. What I'm hoping is they're going to be able to enable local KVM input to enable that USB to talk in both directions. Again, it's very early days. I know that it's something people are going to want, but there's no SD card slot on here, so maybe even the capability of additional storage perhaps. But again, the secondary USB port there, I'm going to be interested to see where they go. Now, the hardware inside, as mentioned, it's more modest. It's a dual-core ARM processor. It's the A53. It also arrives, again, they've not said anything about changing this, but if they do still roll this out with 512 megabytes or half a gig of DDR4, that's LP memory inside this, I will be surprised. If they do, fantastic, but if they change it, I wouldn't be surprised. It also arrives with a 64 gig storage inside, so again for your ISOs, but it's not really going to be the case. They're on mobile devices, but I'd be interested to see what a mobile setup of this is going to take advantage of with that storage software. Power consumption is going to be a concern for some. It's currently being reported at sub 2.5 watts maximum, so remember that 2.5 watts is the cap, but as previously mentioned, it's USB connected and on the network because it's got dual band Wi-Fi as well. They weren't able to confirm, or at least the specifications I was looking at didn't confirm whether that was, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 5. But once you're looking at KVMs, that's less important. It's a 1.8-inch touchscreen there, and it also has DP alt support as well. Now, in terms of availability and pricing, that is still currently under discussion with Gl.iNet. One of the things they were prepared to confirm, though, because they're not sure about the audience for this style of KVM, they're looking at Kickstarter there, which I know isn't going to be for everyone, but despite the fact that Gl.iNet is an established brand and they do have KVMs there, I'm slightly more inclined to give them a tiny bit of credit for using Kickstarter for this, because let's face it, this thing, if you think KVM's a niche, this is a different world of niche. I would like this for my portable KVM setups and remote support, and if I'm on a job and then have to leave that job, the idea that I could leave that there to allow me to continue it, and it's portable, requires no additional power. I'm loving the sound of that there. And I was talking to a member of their team about this. What I would like to see development move towards, and if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you disagree with me, don't put it in the comments, it makes me look bad. But I would like to see this bundled and sold with a larger management KVM, such as say the KVM 5G. And then if you go to an office, you have a centralized main management panel, and then other devices in the office environment could take advantage of this more affordable, lower powered KVM for those other devices, and then their Wi-Fi connections could speak directly with the main management board there, where you could use it to push updates, push ISOs, that kind of stuff, and the more powerful one in the center there doing a lot of the work, and allow for that main console to be another secondary security gateway between the other devices. So I hope that's something they would implement. That's more my idea. I didn't get an opportunity to talk to the devs for this product. Again, pricing is still being confirmed. The only ballpark they could give me was around $100 to $200. I think realistically it's going to be far closer to 1 than 2 in terms of that pricing. But I'm genuinely intrigued by this because I love a KVM, and this is just a different style of KVM. But let me know what you guys think below. Thank you so much for watching. As soon as we learn more about this, I'll put it in a follow-up video and an article over on NAS Compares. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.